I don't think we have audio.
Testing.
We do
Good
now.
boys.
No.
Interesting.
Jake's drivers again. Not John is muted. No, he's not.
It's because I've got
He's
it
not.
on my phone. So
Testing 1 2 testing. Okay, we're good now. All right, sorry. So for some reason, I was picking up my mic. Like I was saying before, we have the Rogue podcast today, where we'll be talking about episode 11, the daughter of Ferrix, episode 11 of Andor. 1 week removed from the finale. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think that we all know it's heading back to Ferrix. But what the story does there, like at what point are we going to leave Andor after next week? Before we get into all that, let's go ahead and discuss what actually is happening this week in episode 11. So off the get-go, we have, it starts off with his escape, correct?
Yeah, they're hanging.
Yeah. So they're just hanging from this cliff. Andor and Melchi
oh yeah.
are hanging from the cliff. And Melchi's like, my hands don't work. I can't get up. And they're like,
do
Like they're
Andor's like,
leaving.
they're leaving.
They're leaving.
And,
Wasn't he like, "Don't tell me again"?
Yeah, like it just.
And then he's do it again.
I feel like he thought he was about to fall to his death, you know, or
Yeah,
they're
he's
going to get
distracting
caught.
him.
Yeah, so they're trying to distract them from the pain, and they've been on this escape for who knows how long. But the Empire appears to be looking for prisoners. I thought it was interesting. One of the lines that Melchi says later on is, "How many of us do you think escaped? You know, are we the only ones?" I mean, that's towards the end of the episode. But just an interesting thing because we had talked about that last week. How many do you guys think escaped? So,
Not enough.
yeah, not enough. I mean, really the only ones that mattered did. But what do you think?
Numbers are?
How did just the two of these guys get away? As just the two of them, you know. I wonder, like, did they all? Everyone just decide to split off and go different ways, and these guys just stuck together because they were friends, more or less. I
I
don't
would
know.
I would imagine the planet's still under Imperial rule,
But it
so
is for sure.
they get they get to shore and everybody scatters like ants.
Yeah, and probably just most of them got picked back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or who knows?
Because it's just such an interesting dynamic. You look at last week, where it was such a triumphant episode, you know, where everyone's
Yeah.
like, "We're free, we escaped," you know, and you're like, "Yeah, let's go." But like in all reality, they're jumping into an ocean. Many of them probably didn't make it ashore, and those that did, the vast majority probably got picked up. You know,
Yep.
so all of these, what was it, 5,000 or something?
Total.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
That could have possibly escaped.
but there probably was far, far, far fewer that actually made it out. So.
Oh yeah. A lot of casualties.
It also was interesting to me as we get to the end, as Melchi, you can see he's automatically the switch has flipped for him because he is instantly saying we need to make a difference and we need to tell people about what's going on and to tell people about what the Empire is doing. It appears to me Andor doesn't give a rip about that. He's like, yeah, for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, he's still obviously
I mean,
friends.
thinking about
also,
his mom.
yeah, he just found out his mother figure died, so that makes a difference as well. Um,
Which this episode to me was, how many different people can we watch learning about Marva's death? Which
I
was
mean-
a little weak for me.
Yeah, I understand that. But you also see not only just them learning about Marva's death, but you're seeing how everyone reacts to it and is using this to their own advantage as well. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this
Yeah.
episode showed us the same thing the show has been doing, is just telling us about how all these different groups and individuals are acting around this one central figure and what's happening, right? It's all centralized around Luthen and Andor. Everything that's done in the show is centered around those two people. And that kind of culminated in this episode where everything is going to come together in this final episode centered around them, where all the pieces are going to be in the same point. And this episode just kind of pointed how every person ends up getting there. So I thought that was a really cool way to weave the story together. Not the most like exciting. Yeah, we knew the lady was going to die, and who cares? She died, you know? So I get what you're saying. Like, it was not the most exciting story point in the world, but
Yeah, it didn't really hit for me. This
Mhm.
episode was kind of on the lower end. Like I don't know, I'd probably give it a high 6.
yeah, I was
Wow.
thinking like 7. There was some cool stuff that happened. Like, again, the highlight of
Dogfight.
this show is Luthen, in my opinion, right now.
He's he's the highlight of the whole show
Mhm.
by far.
He's the best character. He's extremely well written. I saw I saw a meme. Where was it where they said hope? Oh, it was Rogue One.
Yep.
She says hope
Rebellions
rebellions
are
are built
built
on hope. And the meme said rebellions aren't built on hope. They're built on the back of some Chad named Luthen.
Yeah, it's the one I sent in the.
Oh,
You may have seen it on Twitter, but
I saw it on
I did
Twitter,
just send it in
yeah.
the.
Oh,
group.
I didn't know you sent that. And then I saw another one that said it was Rogue One, and it was like all of the rebels in the planning room. It said Rebel Force at 100% strength, and then underneath it was a picture of Luthen. Said Rebel Force at 99% strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no, I mean
Real
he is the
strong.
driving force of the rebellion and starting it, and I think we saw a lot of that today, and just the sacrifices he continues to be willing to make in order to build this force that could actually have a legitimate shot of taking down the Empire. Because I do believe if a lot of these other methods had been followed by perhaps Mon Mothma or Saw Gerrera, that you wouldn't have had a successful rebellion. Like, Mon Mothma's politics were never going to take down the Empire. Saw Gerrera's just guerrilla warfare and just saying we fight, and just fighting is all
All
we
by
do.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Not enough.
it would never work. You would never get the numbers that you need to defeat that superpower. But Luthen being able to have the spy network to be able to learn what he needs to know about his enemy. It's like what in the Art of War. Know your enemy as you know yourself. And I forget how the rest of it ends, but like you'll win many more battles, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of
Something like
has that same aspect of saying the most important part of this is knowing the Empire, knowing their every move so we can predict it, and making sure they don't know ours.
It was interesting how they brought up Aldani again, because Mothma still doesn't know that that was Luthen, and still I don't even think she knows that Vel is involved in any more capacity than just being kind of going from place to place. She 100% doesn't know that Vel was on Aldani. So that one moment when she brought up Aldani and how that kind of changed everything, and Vel was like, "Oh, yeah, that was me."
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, she kind of looked down like
Yeah. That
she
happened.
knew. It was like, "Oh yeah, I know what happened there."
Well, now her actions are kind of screwing Mon Mothma
Yeah,
over.
and Luthen's, of course, that was Luthen who kind of planned that whole thing.
Now
and how,
she suspected it was Luthen, though.
yes, yeah,
He didn't directly confess to it, but I felt like it was pretty obvious to her that he did.
yeah,
Right?
she's definitely wary and probably assumes like, okay, I don't know 100%, but I'm assuming it was him
Yeah.
because I don't know who else
Yeah.
it would be. But then how it's also, like she said, she was able to move money, whatever. Then Aldani happened, all that stopped, and now she can't do anything. And then Takoma looked into it, and he realized even more was bad. And it was kind of interesting how that Aldani was, the first half of the show, and now it's kind of not coming home to roost as much as I would like, but still being a catalyst
But
to
yeah,
Andor going to prison.
Yeah. Everything
for
has
longer.
happened in the whole rest of the show has been in the wake of what happened at Aldani, which is exactly what Luthen wanted. He said, and that's what Deidre, I can't never get her
Yeah,
name right.
Deidre, depending on who says it.
And that's what she said. This was a statement. This was not a robbery, And that's exactly what Luthen wanted it to be. He wanted it to be something that the Empire would react harshly to try to generate more sympathy for the rebellion. And that's exactly what we see happening. So
Raise the stakes.
the stakes have absolutely been raised. Every single thing that has happened is as in a wake or a response to Aldani.
It's kind of funny. I just realized that whether or not Aldani happened, Andor still would have went to prison. It just would have been 6 months instead of 6 years. So he still would have went to prison regardless.
Well, maybe he might not have ever been arrested.
And like a prison sentence, it would have been a chill at Niamos prison or the local
Well,
lockup.
would he have even been at that location if he hadn't gone to Aldani?
No.
I'm just saying he's gonna get arrested either way because that's who he is.
Pretty
Oh.
much.
If he hadn't gone to Aldani, he wouldn't have had the money to go to that planet.
But John's saying he would have
Probably.
ended up in a prison of a sort.
Yeah.
Oh
During
yeah,
So
but he would have
all
been in
the-
prison for longer if he would have just gotten captured for killing those two people.
All the events could have still happened without the Empire freaking out. I'm just playing like, all right, if we follow
I
path
really
B,
don't. I really don't
path
think
A.
so. I think that if Aldani didn't happen,
Or not necessarily if Aldani didn't happen,
or
if
if it
the
was just a
Empire didn't,
failure,
or if the Empire didn't react. Yeah, that's my crux is because Luthen wanted the Empire to react with a
right,
strong fist,
right.
so people would realize how evil the Empire actually is.
Hmm.
Let's say the Empire keeps business as usual. Aldani happens. He goes to Niemos. He still gets arrested, and then he still goes to prison, but for 6 months instead of 6 years.
What makes you
But
think
then
he
it
would still
starts to
get
break
arrested?
down. Pardon?
What do you makes you think he would still get arrested?
Because he still would have
Character.
been in the same place, same time. The shore trooper still would have been a butt to him.
See, I don't know that the shore troopers would just be picking up random citizens and throwing them in prison for no reason before this. Because
I
they
feel
even
like that's
said
the vibe they wanted to
They said
give.
we're not. They started foregoing trials. They used to actually have trials, and they used to actually like have a process.
Yeah.
And now they're just arresting people, and whatever their charge is, they're automatically guilty. That was never the case before. So he could have been charged with something and not been found guilty of it.
Yeah, but we all know ultimately within 6 years or whatever it is, it was going to happen either way.
Well, sure. And then also, while he's in prison, it wouldn't have been the same way. He may have gone somewhere totally different. They're processing.
Kessel?
And even if he does go there, it's not going to be the case where like they're getting killed and staying there
Yeah.
forever. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't have
It's Kessel?
you wouldn't have had a prison break. More than likely, people would have just lived out their sentences. So
Yeah.
it would have been pretty different. But
I don't
all right,
remember how
cool.
I got to that tangent.
Yeah, me neither, but it's interesting. So then I want to talk about the little escape portion with the what are they called, Narkinians?
Yeah.
Did anyone see any interesting similarity to those creatures that you thought maybe was grabbed from a previous Star Wars medium?
Weren't they? Were they in Visions? Star Wars Visions?
Not visions, but you're along the right lines. Now, it's not actually the same race.
Yeah, the
I'll
Jedi?
share my screen with you guys.
Because they look like anime characters.
Where'd they go? Nelvon warriors. Anyone hear the term before?
No.
Do you guys remember? Let's see if I can share the screen with you guys.
Oh,
Do you guys remember in the Clone Wars?
Yeah.
There was the first original short, like 8-minute Clone Wars episodes they had. There was an episode in season 3 where Anakin went to this planet with Obi-Wan, and they were like, there's some disturbance that had destroyed this like droid factory, and he went in there and had this trial and this ritual where like he got tattooed by this leeches. Yep. And then he goes in and he kills all the droids and finds that all the Nelvon warriors were being like put in these vats and having their arms taken off and put guns on them and stuff. And then they were all like just hugely genetically modified. Okay, well, when they got fat, this is what they looked like. Let's see if you guys can see that. Okay,
I do remember that.
they looked like these guys, right? Or like this guy here. And well, of course, it's not the same. It's Nelvon and versus Narkinia. I don't think it's the same race. But then they all had their hands taken off and had these guns put in place of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had the long black hair on the sides, like this guy. I mean, their original race looks like this. So of course, this was changed.
Mutated, yeah.
Yeah, so they're mutated, and I don't think it's the same. But when you go to the Narkinian in Andor, and I haven't seen anyone talking about this, so I don't know if there is a connection. But you go to the Narkinian, the one with the chopped off hand. The original guy doesn't look like him. But this guy here, he has his hand chopped off.
I could see if there was inspiration,
Exactly.
but like he has a very humanoid face, whereas the other guys have
Like
animalistic
wolf
faces.
faces. Yeah, no, it's definitely not the same. But they are eerily similar. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. And this is Legends, the Nelvan warriors are. They've never been put into any kind of canon or anything. So they can use them as they want. I mean, it's clearly not the same race. I mean, look at this guy. But the other one does look fairly similar. So, where'd he go?
I think it was at the top.
Yeah, but there was a picture I saw earlier when I was looking this up where it was much more zoomed in. I mean, I can see this guy, but I thought there was a picture where you can see his hand because he's got that hook hand. Here we go. See?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. That it's like the
Hmm.
same hand, and they got that hair, black hair on the sides. It just looks like them, But they
Pretty
don't have the
similar.
wolf ears or anything. So
Yeah, I didn't picture that.
it was just the
but-
first thing. It jumped out to me right away. I don't know
Huh.
why, but anyways,
That whole scene was just weird to me.
I
Like,
know I had to rewind it and put on subtitles.
yeah,
It's like, what the
Onesie,
heck are they
twosie.
saying? Onesie,
I
twosie,
don't-
and piri.
what?
I
Yeah,
just
that
I
just
just moved on.
that whole.
I thought it was
scene
funny,
just, like,
honestly.
yeah, I guess if it was for humor, sure, but like other than that, like, what is it? This scene makes no sense. He's like, oh, let's turn him in for a profit,
1,000 dead or live.
and then all of a sudden he's like, where you want to go? I'll take you there. I thought he was gonna like stab him in the back because it's like, oh, okay.
No, they just were like these two humorous dudes. They're like, yeah, we hate the Empire, and if you're captured by the Empire, they're like teasing him. You know what I mean? And then they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, you can take our quad jumper. Enemy of the Empire is a friend of mine.
I realized why they didn't have any. They had hardly any other aliens
Why's that?
in the show because they spent all the alien budget on these two guys.
They did
Because
look good.
those were practical,
Practical
They look good.
effects.
very
Well, we've
practical
seen 'em a
because
little
you could see
more.
his mouth was like a puppet mouth, like
I honestly think
there was no
it's
lip movement
it's intentional. I don't think it's just like they forgot to put aliens in.
because the Empire is weeding out
Yes, the Empire
alien races.
is racist, right? And they're trying to weed out alien races. And whenever you go to populated areas, there aren't going to be as many. Think about in Star Wars when you do see heavy amounts of aliens. It's never in the Empire. It's never in populated cities. Bespin? Nope. The only place you see them are like Tatooine, in the slums
The Outer
of the
Rim.
planet. Exactly, the Outer Rim, right? I think that's intentional. But when do we see them
Coruscant had tons
Exactly.
of aliens, but before the
Yeah.
Empire.
again? In the Clone Wars, it did. But then we go into this show. When is the only place we see aliens? You see a
The-
few in the Senate,
the
and when they
bottom
go in
of
the Undercity.
Coruscant,
Exactly. And when
and
he
then
goes to
Niamos had a couple, but not in prison.
Yeah.
None of them were in the courtroom that
Yeah.
I recall.
they're not in the
Which
courtroom.
there were a lot of people
They
in
weren't
there.
by the resort area, and
They
They're n-
were at the resort area.
They were?
on the beach.
oh,
there was
okay,
a couple.
okay. But they
then
are
in the
seen living
bed-
off by themselves. You know what I mean? So I
When
think it's
Andor
just
got his credits back, there was a couple
some dude.
cuddling, crustacean
Yeah.
cuddling with the.
But I
seal.
do think that they're trying to show that the aliens are on the outs and they're not seen as a regular part of society anymore. So I understand why people want to see the aliens because it feels like Star Wars. But I honestly think it's a part of trying to make the story a little bit deeper without having to they're doing that without having to say the Empire is racist and is pushing out aliens. You know what I mean? They're not physically, no one's verbally saying it, but they're showing it. You know what I mean? Which I prefer that in the show.
Yeah, I don't know if and this is me kind of going outside the world. I just don't know if Gilroy has that enough of a knowledge of Star Wars to make that connection.
So
which,
go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
which yeah, I was just gonna say that's me being outside of the content, which isn't always the best way to.
I know that you
explain
read this
things.
article as well, but I would look at it this way. He said that as far as the story he writes, he wants to be extremely well informed about the time that he is writing about. And then any kind of Easter eggs and stuff is put in by his crew. Okay? And if he's reading all kinds of stuff about this time, he's going to find out that's what the Empire has started to do as soon as Order 66 started. Pretty much that's what the Emperor was going for. If that's a theme he found to be interesting, I wouldn't be surprised if he threw that in there. And also, it saves a lot of money not have to produce aliens. So,
That is the big one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't
The
know.
almighty dollar, more powerful than racism.
But that's how I feel about it. I think it works really well. It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't have some of those feels of prequel-y things, but I think that when you think about the context of where the galaxy is at, it makes a lot of sense.
And the quad jumper was in, I think episode 7.
I was trying to
Yeah.
Force
visualize
Awakens.
that. Is that what
It
it
was
Yeah,
was?
it's
definitely
like
in
a
the
set.
sequel.
Oh, is that what dropped off? What's her face on the planet?
Ray?
No. Ray. Is that what dropped Ray off?
No, it was in.
Doesn't she come with it?
No. Oh yeah, Adult Ray. Yeah, quad jumper Lego. It's from Jakku Quad Jumper. I think she.
Steals it.
Unkar's thug, so they chase the Falcon.
Uh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the meats and
Oh,
potatoes.
it gets it's the one they run to.
then doesn't
Oh, and it
work.
gets destroyed, and then they go to the Millennium Falcon.
Oh.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That was Luthen's? Or no, that's
No.
the
That's the
Unkar
one.
beginning.
Unkar
Yeah.
plots
beginning.
quad
Yeah.
jumper.
Okay. So, a little bit about what's happening in the show. We see Bix being interrogated still, and Deidre is wondering if, or actually, it's not Deidre. It's the guy she left there in charge of Ferrix.
We
As-
finally see Anto Krieger.
Yeah.
This mystery, what
Who
not
they-
even MacGuffin kind of. We'll see
Yeah.
the next episode if he's a true MacGuffin, but like
They've tried
or the
to-
mystery box.
It seemed pretty mysterious that they hadn't shown him, you know? Like Luther
I don't think
hasn't
we'll
talked
ever
to
see him. He looked way too cartoony to ever like. He doesn't look like he could be a real human.
Or just
He
a
is,
great
though.
actor.
It was a person.
Yeah, if it was a person, it looked like it was computer generated. You're like, all right, I need a big dude.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Give me big dude.
But anyway, she's getting interrogated, and they're wondering if he is Axis, the codename Axis, right? Now,
AKA Luthen.
If you're Bix, do you just try to say yes?
I don't. I thought she was gonna say no. I thought she was gonna say no.
I don't think she has any clue.
No, she
Yeah.
knows that Luthen is Axis.
She's never actually met him, though. She doesn't know his name. She doesn't know what he looks like. They explain that.
Luthen?
Yeah, they explained that in the one of the first couple episodes.
Bix was walking through the town of Ferrix with Luthen.
No, I don't think so.
The first remember when he
when he
comes
has
to
his
Ferrix?
cane.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
So he definitely has seen Luthen. She definitely has seen Luthen. She knows his name is Axis. I don't know if she knows his name is Luthen.
And she doesn't know how to find him.
Yeah.
She definitely walked through the town, which is I didn't bring it up then, but I'll bring it up now. They were talking so like loudly
Cavalier.
about everything, like, oh, you guys don't want to like hush hush about your secret evil plans.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're not evil.
Hear you.
So she knows who.
I guess she does. Okay,
Axis
I was
is.
trying to remember. So she does know who it is. I don't know. I feel like she has no like real like passion for the rebellion, at least not at this point, right? I mean, maybe now that the Empire has like been so aggressive in Ferrix, maybe she does. But
I don't know, man.
she
We
also
haven't
was
seen
like,
her say anything.
yeah, it's so weird. I feel like they spent all this time on her, and I can't like identify a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like delayed gratification.
I mean, that's what listening to Friday by Rebecca Black over and over again will do to you.
Do you think that she's gonna have a bigger role in the finale?
No, she's scrambled eggs. Her brain is scrambled.
Is it so? Then is she just going to be a plot device for Andor when she
Probably.
sees what's happened to him or what's happened to her?
A trap.
Potentially. I mean, ever since she got captured, she's just been a convenient plot device of information. So I feel like
But
if
she
they
hasn't
need to know
given
anything,
any information, though. That's the thing. Like,
All
it would make
she-
sense if they would torture her for the show, and then she like gives away key info. But
no,
for us, the
she
fan,
found out that Andor was. Remember when they found the information that Andor was cleanly shaved when he came back to visit?
yeah,
I believe they got that information from Bix. Like they said, describe what Andor looked like. He was cleanly shaven. He blah 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 blah.
okay.
That's at least that's what I got from it. But she's
Yeah, but she wasn't even like interrogated at that point, right? She just gave that up freely, right?
I think that was after the interrogation because remember the interrogation scene happened, then they cut back to the ISB and they knew
Oh, okay.
all the stuff about how
yeah.
to identify Andor with the group from Aldani.
So Marva dies. It's very sad. Big friend. What's that friend's name?
More or less.
Bro.
Bro. We'll call him Bro. For short.
Bravos.
Okay. Bro is trying to help take care of Marva's affairs, cleaning up the house. And we see the daughters of Ferrix, which are apparently this like upper or some kind of like society. What their purpose is unknown.
I thought they might have been like the rebels for the planet or
but
something
see,
like
it
that.
seems like they existed well before the Empire did. You know, it seems like they're almost like an Assassin's Creed kind of thing. There's like people that are like in the inner workings, like a Templar group or something, or like Knights of Columbus, something like that.
Or the Freemasons.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, so it seems like they're like the Freemasons of Star Wars or of Ferrix.
Yes, yeah, I go with Freemasons, where they're
Mhm.
kind of like they just take care of the religious aspects of
Government.
procedural things.
Yes. But anyways, did you notice the name of B2?
B2 emo.
B2 emo.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
it was
been
funny
in the
'cause
subtitles.
this is the first time I watched the subtitles.
Yeah,
So I was like, it's funny because he's like all emotional in this episode. So they clearly did that on purpose. B2
Yes.
emo.
he's very
Yeah.
very emo.
Love to see it.
Odd in my opinion, seeing this droid super emotional about like someone dying, but they must have
Give me a
programmed
moment.
it to have like
That was cringe.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
really
kinda-
cringe.
I felt that
Like,
whole
do
scene.
you
was
want me to
kinda
give you the
cringe.
room?
Yeah.
I thought I think this was a theory early on where people think that the consciousness of that droid is going to go into K2SO,
K2SO, yeah.
which would be cool. That'd be a cool tie-in because it'd be like he's limited by his
Programming.
Motion.
limited programming and limited. I think his
know.
infrastructure is damaged. So to have him made whole in a new droid would be interesting.
I
Kind
don't
of like
know.
how they made the consciousness of the Falcon from C-3PO's comments about it in Solo.
Yeah. Like I was talking to him. Yeah.
Your ship has the most peculiar dialect.
Yes. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's kind of odd. I feel like K2SO was such a good droid, you know, like very, like well-written character, just to have him have its like other personality transcribed into it, but then they don't have the same personality. That doesn't really make sense to me
Yeah,
because the personalities are not really even similar.
yeah, because K2SO is very like,
Cold.
all right, we're gonna do this now. Okay, now we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
and
very
B2
matter of
Emo
fact.
is very emotional. Yeah,
Mhm.
obviously.
So that doesn't make sense to me. If they did, and I don't think that's something that they would do in this show. Just doesn't seem like it's in that vein. You know what I mean?
It's kind of weird.
I did think it was cool and very Star Warsy, the spiritual aspect of the deceased becoming bricks.
Oh yeah, part of the town.
Yeah, which is
like
kind of cool
Part
and
of the
very
ship, part of the crew.
yeah. That aspect was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of like a cool cultural thing. You'd be like, man, that'd be a good idea for like our society. Just be like, oh, this is my family wall. Like, oh yeah,
Literally.
yeah, it's my family.
Grandpa.
When we nailed this one into the wall, a little bit of Grandpa fell out and dust.
Oh,
Nailed
yeah, that would be
you
kinda-
nail the picture of Grandpa into the wall, and just dust trickles down.
Oh well, there went him.
I thought it was funny that they said that Marva was a prominent citizen of Ferrix. Like, I know it's not important at all to the show or whatever, but like, was she? Was
Well,
she?
she
though?
was like the president of the Sisters of Ferrix, they said. Like previously. Yeah. Because they said, I think it was in episode 10, they talked about how Marva was sick and like she was always feeling like down and out and stuff. Maybe it was 9, I don't remember. But it was when she was first starting to get sick. And yeah, it was 9 because Bix was talking to her.
They must have been really chill then because they did not do much to try and. Granted, she didn't want the care, but like
That's the thing. They said,
they didn't do much to help her
well,
out.
can't she get some treatment and like go to a hospital and stuff? And they said, can't the Sisters of Ferrix help her? She's a previous president. And they were like, they've tried to help her and to take her in, but she's made her wishes very clear, is what they said, is that she wants to live on her own and do what she can for the rebellion. So
Die.
apparently, that's what rebels
She
do.
wants to die.
They're rebels. They die.
So
Die,
Andor
sitting
can-
at home.
Get phased.
Yeah. Well, pretty much what we knew was going to happen was we said this was going to happen. Everyone's watching Marva, and eventually they're going to use her to draw him in. And we thought maybe that they would like capture her or something, but her death has come, and he makes a very bold move to try to call into Ferrix, knowing that the Empire's there, which I thought was really dumb. But he gets
Listening.
he gets a connection and finds out that his mom has died. And then we see Cyril get a call from that
Yeah,
Irish police guy.
because we've got Cyril to talk about, and then Mon Mothma to talk about before, and her daughter to talk about before we kind of get to the end with Luthen and
Okay. We can
So
talk about
Cyril.
Cyril first, then.
yeah, very
So
quick conversation.
Cyril is woken up by his mom in the middle of the night, and Irish policeman is working in a factory, apparently. And it's very loud, very annoying. Static is very poor, or very prominent. And
One
finds
bar.
out,
Surprisingly,
out that,
though, I don't know about you guys, but I could understand him very clearly.
Yeah,
And
I could too.
Cyril's
The other
like,
guy
I
couldn't.
can't hear you.
Oh, I know,
It's like,
it's so stupid.
oh yeah, it's loud and stuff. But like, I can understand you
Because what they wanted is they wanted us to get the message,
Yeah,
but they wanted to portray that Cyril could not. But he still
Also,
got it. It was really dumb. Cyril's so
Side
annoying.
fact: the Irish guy kind of looks like, give him a beard, and he looks kind of pretty much exactly like someone that I used to work with.
Oh, really?
It's pretty funny.
The guy is
Not Irish,
The guy
but-
he's a funny character.
He is.
He cracks me up. But finds out that Andor's mom dies, and he's gonna go on his own. Now I don't know what this guy plans
Add
to
him
do.
to the list.
Like
of
what?
people.
What does he think he's gonna do? Because he
Cyril?
knows he
After
can't.
him get rewarded.
He can't call the Empire and let them know, because they're annoyed. They're just super annoyed with him, and she pretty much said, "I'll end you if you contact
He's a
us again."
stalker.
Yeah, he's a stalker boy. So do you think he's just gonna go there on his own?
He
stole all her
grabbed the
credits.
money.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
stole his mom's credits and stuff. So, I feel like
I had
he's
high
gonna be
hopes
just
for his
like a
character.
pain in the butt. You know what I mean? Like all this
Annoying
stuff
little
next
brother.
episode's gonna be going on, and he's just gonna
He's
be like the
gonna-
guy that's in the way of everything.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh my
I don't know.
word.
I'm interested to see what happens with that loser. So I hope he dies. Honestly, like I don't hate the character, but I just think that's what makes sense. I think that he's trying to help the Empire. He just gets in the way, trying to do the thing that he can to have some purpose in life. And he just wants to help them, and they're like, "Dude, you're in our way," and just kill him.
Gets gunned down.
You know what I mean? Like,
Cannon fodder.
wouldn't that be
Yeah,
ironic though? Like, all he wants to do is help the Empire and restore order, and
Mhm.
they just kill him.
That would be
happens a
that would
lot.
be fitting.
Yes.
I will say, episode 3 at the end of episode 3, I was, besides Luthen, because obviously he's the best character.
Yes.
I was most looking forward to seeing what they were going to do with Cyril, just because he was at this level of
Like
hierarchy,
a tipping point too.
a superior, and that he was inexperienced. He had never experienced before. Didn't know what to do. Was super shaken up, and I really was looking forward to see how he would handle that
Mm-hmm.
and what would happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he
Well, and you got to remember
Gave up.
too, like he was one of the main things that was discussed. Is he going to turn, to the rebellion?
Yeah.
And it really appears he's not going to. Now I do know that Andor and Melchi have this mission of telling people about what's happening in the Empire, and as people's eyes are open to what the Empire really is, we're going to start seeing people join the rebellion. So maybe he captures Andor, and Andor tells him about what's happened to him. Maybe he chooses to believe, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But maybe that is something that could happen to Cyril. Maybe he could say, "Wow, the Empire is not what I thought it was." But it doesn't seem like that to me. That doesn't seem within his
No.
character, at least not at this point.
no, I don't think he'll turn to the rebels. That wouldn't make much
I
sense.
certainly hope not. I don't want to see him in season 2. The dude's annoying, which is good. I like annoying characters. Characters you hate are important for shows. Like sometimes the best written characters are characters you hate. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Not
he's
Skylar.
he's a smart guy.
no, not.
I think
Skylar
he's really technically smart. So making him a
He is.
character that could have been getting into the ISB through techno wizardry
White. Sure.
and finding out information himself. Like I think he should have found out himself that Marva had died.
And
He should have been having the side plot of infiltrating instead of just stalking. I think that would have made a lot more sense for his character.
I also think it would have made sense if he would have found out that Andor was in the prison system.
And he's trying to tell Deidre that like I know where he is, and
Yes.
she's like, get out of my way, and
Exactly.
even put him in prison or something.
Yes. Yeah. I got like maybe even
And he
send
runs
him
into
there.
him.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been crazy if they were in prison together? But yeah, I just feel
That
like
would be awesome, but
he-
maybe a little
with
much, but awesome.
how laser focused he is on Andor that he just couldn't possibly stop, and find some way just to be a data miner practically. And then maybe the Empire realizes some use from there. Dale Erdman says, Sir will be eating cereal with Dedra in the finale. He's going to turn her into Blue Bantha Puffs lover. Please, no more cereal. I can't deal with any more cereal.
In the blue milk.
Oh my gosh,
Uh-oh.
I can't take it. I can't take it.
Yeah.
It looks delicious, but
I mean, it looks like Trix. Doesn't
Or
he know
the-
Trix
They
are for
just
kids?
made their own bottle.
Yes.
or the
box.
Captain Crunch berries only.
Yes, berries only. Exactly.
When we gonna go to Disneyland and go see it?
Oh, please. Oh, you know that they're going to have that cereal at Galaxy's Edge.
For $15.
Yes, for probably for
Well,
20
yeah.
bucks a bowl. You get 20 bucks a bowl in your $1,800 hotel room for one night.
Blue milk not included.
No, no, no.
All right, so the Empire.
Mothma.
The Empire. You want to go to the Empire finding out about it or Mothma first?
Empire finding out about whom?
About Marva dying.
Sure.
Okay, because there's an interesting conversation there. So, who actually alerted Deidre of Marva dying?
Well,
Was
they
there-
were on the
Her
planet. They
team.
had that.
Because, yeah, they have a base.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right. They had that call. And they
The
said,
dude found out and talked to Cinta. Remember, Cinta's
Yes.
in the coffee. She's
Yep.
a barista now.
yeah, apparently. Or a bartender, one of the two. And it's called CAF in Star Wars, just so you know.
Come on, John.
Yeah.
Come on, get it together.
Stars credits. Star creds. Star creds. Galaxy
street
creds.
creds?
No, instead of Starbucks.
Oh my gosh.
Galaxy creds.
I did not make that connection. That
No.
was a stretch.
Sorry,
John.
John.
That was a stretch. Even for me.
Airball.
But anyways, as we're saying, so I thought it was interesting that, and I think it's what we would have expected. The lower enlisted, the people that don't really have the big picture in mind, are like, yeah, we're shutting it down, and they're not going to get any kind of funeral or any kind of procession. And she's like, no, this is perfect. We can limit the streets that they can use, limit the number of people we have in there, completely controlled environment, and be able to observe it and see anyone that comes in. It's perfect. Not much to add to that, but what I wanted to point out is we are seeing how every single group and faction is using this moment to their advantage, is what they're trying to do. And it's all going to come down to Andor, and he has no idea any of it's happening.
He's gonna go back.
I mean, both groups are trying to capture/kill him.
Yep.
We keep thinking, the rebels are the good guys. But right now, the rebels are trying to kill Andor.
Yep.
Like, they're not going to be the ones to come rescue him. I mean, maybe that'll end up being that way. But
Just
that's not
Luthen,
their
right?
intention, Luthen's the one that told him to kill him.
I know,
Yeah.
but I feel like
Told
he
Vel.
would. Yeah, I feel like he'd be the only one that would be swayed. I don't know.
I think any of them could be if they saw his actions or something like that, or if he just decided to join up. But if he doesn't decide to join up, then yeah, they have to kill him. He's a leak. And they can't allow any leaks. So,
Plug the leaks.
all right. And then Mon Mothma.
Mothma and Vel talk, and what did you think about her daughter and like what was going on with that
Well, I think it brings
chanting thing?
Does someone else want to say something? My mouth is getting dry.
I mean, it's probably the Chandrillan, like, something or another.
It's like their society.
Patriarchy.
Yeah.
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 They've got like this societal.
Mulan?
It's almost like Mulan, yes, where the daughters are expected to do a certain thing to bring honor to their family. They talk about how like the permanence of everything that they do and like the humility they have to have as a Chandrillan woman and stuff. So pretty much they're just like embracing their old culture is essentially what we're seeing. But the funny thing is that the conflict that it brings for Mothma is that that's what her and Vel were raised in. And finally, their society is starting to get away from that. And she hates what that has done. She's had a match with some man that she despises, and he doesn't like her either. And she doesn't want that for her daughter. But as her daughter has met people and seen how her society works, she's chosen that's what she wants for her life. And then she's convinced all her friends that's what they want. So now she knows that what's best for her daughter is for her to choose her own life. But now what she's choosing for her life is to have no choice,
Yep.
So she's left with this conflict. Do I say, well, man, maybe I'll just let her match with this guy because that's what the rebellion needs and that's what my daughter wants? Or the moral conflict of saying, this is not right. I shouldn't do this to my daughter. I love her and she doesn't think I do. Like, so you've got all these conflicts going in to both places because first off, her daughter already thinks that she is just a tool for her politics, right?
Yep.
And matching her with someone is just putting that in further. So that's one question Mothma has to answer. Second, what it does for the rebellion and for her financial state is something that she has to weigh. And then thirdly, that's what her daughter wants. So if she finds out that she didn't set her up, then her daughter's going to be more mad at her for, it's like it's a lose-lose. There's nothing she can possibly do.
Kids,
right.
man.
Yeah. There's
Kids
no way
nowadays.
she can do this the right way. So, I mean, again, the show doing a great job of developing a character and putting him in tough situations and seeing no way out.
Yep.
Oh, we were told Clea said to find Cassian. We didn't hear Luthen say it.
Which I think it's inferred that Luthen told Clea.
Well, I think Clea does make moves on her own. He says, in fact, he still thinks Cassian is an asset to be procured while he's flying just before the imps almost get him. Oh, okay. So in this episode,
I need an interpretation of what they were saying when he's like, which that we can get to that later, but when he was like, "Oh, I'm still interested in this piece. So did we lose this? Yada yada yada."
I think he was just talking in code the entire time.
Yeah, but he was talking
but
code about Andor.
Okay, but Andor and whom?
Well, I think he was.
We can say that for later
I think he was
because
just talking about Andor. We will get to that, okay? Because I was wondering too with that. It could mean that when he says we need to procure the piece before anyone else does or we're out of business, he's either saying we need to kill this person before anyone else does because if they capture him, he can give up anything, right?
Yes, I like that.
Or he could be saying we need to get him to our side because we need him, right? So it just, you wonder, which does he mean?
First one.
I think the first one too, because I think originally we talk about how the conversation he had with Clea earlier on in the season, where she was trying to get him on the rails, right, and say, "Look, you can't get off the rails here. You got to stay on the path of what we're trying to do, and you can't just because
you gotta play it safe.
Exactly, gotta play it safe. Just because you like Andor and think he's a really good asset, we can't risk the whole rebellion for one person, right? So I don't know. I think he's conflicted about it, what he wants to do. I don't know if he's the one that called the hit on him or not. CJ, yes, what you got to say?
I don't know. I just haven't gotten the impression at all that Luthen is trying to kill Andor.
Yeah.
Like, not even I still think he's trying to recruit him. But
so, do you think he's aware of what Clea and Vel and Cinta have up their sleeves? And it's just like understands that that's the way it is, or are they doing this behind his back?
I think he knows about Vel and Cinta for sure. This thing with Clea, maybe not. But
Clea told Vel and Cinta what to do.
Yeah, told him to kill Cassian.
So does he think that Clea just told Vel and Cinta to go get him, or to re-recruit him? Or is he aware?
Maybe so. He's trying to kill. I don't think he's trying to kill Andor. I don't know. We'll see.
Wait, I have a new translation.
Huh?
So, hey, he wanted to reopen the offer. He's talking about, because they just got back from the scene with Saw Gerrera.
Correct.
So he wanted to reopen the offer. We learned in the previous scene that Saw Gerrera wants to be in the deal again with Anto Krieger.
Yes. Too little, too late, buddy.
Yeah, and so Clea says, "Did you close the sale?" Then he says,
"Yes."
Yeah, I did, but it was more expensive than I hoped, but I wasn't. So, Saw Gerrera demanded more, so he had to give him more.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we know that.
And then he asks about the other piece.
So you're coming home. Depends. I'm most curious about the other piece. So no doubt talking about Cassian.
So he's saying, do I come home or do we know where Cassian is?
Is it no longer available?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very much on the table.
Okay, so I think wondering, is he dead?
Yep, the negotiations are ongoing and our representatives are involved, Vel and Cinta.
So they're monitoring the situation and kind of understand where he is, right? That's kind of
and he said there's other buyers involved. Your presence would complicate the bidding at this point. We need that piece. So Luthen, I don't think he wants.
Yeah. I think what that's saying is that what's her name? Clea is saying, look, Cinta and Vel got it covered. They're going to kill him when he gets there. You being there just makes things more complicated. Well, Luthen is saying, no, I want to get there, and I want to try to get him. You know what I mean? And try to not have him killed, but have him brought back. So I think there's a little bit of conflict.
And Luthen also says you need to think of the consequences of losing that piece to another collector, i.e. the Empire.
Yes. Very interesting.
and then they get. So maybe I'm starting to question myself. Did Clea actually told Vel
Told Vel
to
to kill him.
kill
Yes.
Cassian
Yeah.
when they were in that
I
little?
don't.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
episode
when
was
they
this?
were in
Outside.
Coruscant.
Yeah, they're outside
Which-
in
Okay.
Coruscant.
Was it the
Hiding.
nobody's
this episode?
listening?
No.
Huh?
I think I'm gonna.
No,
find
this
it
was
real
like
quick.
right after Aldani.
Yeah.
Right after
Okay,
Aldani.
I don't.
That's
I didn't
crazy.
catch that.
CJ almost remembers everything.
The girl, remember we were talking about that she kind of looked like Leia?
They're walking through Coruscant, and Clea and Vel meet up.
Right.
When they're talking there, she says that that Andor has to die because he could give up information about Luthen because he knows.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I'm trying to find the scene, but we can, because we haven't talked about
awesome. Thanks, Dale, for
Saw
watching.
Gerrera yet.
Mhm.
That scene.
Saw Gerrera.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah. So that was one of my highlights of the show. So
Mhm.
Luthen goes to see Saw. Now this is after the point where he has decided that he's gonna let Anto Krieger either be captured or killed. Now I've been surprised that we haven't seen this yet. I was kind of under the understanding that this was happening like ASAP, you know what I mean? But apparently this ship's been drifting in space for several days now.
Yeah.
But Luthen has decided, look, these guys are going to die. And it's for the cost of trying to save this spy. But he's also starting to realize that there are some other aspects at play. Not only does this help keep his resource intact, but it also can help the rebellion or the Empire maybe think that they got Axis, right? And think that they've made a huge blow to the rebels, where in fact they're a small faction of a group that he's just slightly associated with, but not tied to. But the question this raises for me, you guys tell me what you think about this. CJ, I'll ask you. He is willing to let Anto Krieger either die or get captured. If he was guaranteed that he would die, I think that makes sense. But they're going to try to capture Krieger. And wouldn't you think Luthen would be afraid of him revealing the identity of himself and his associates?
Didn't he say to Saul though that he's never directly dealt with Luthen? It's been through intermediaries.
Oh, that's right.
So Luthen has nothing on him,
That's right.
or
Vice versa.
Krieger has nothing on him.
Yeah, but then he says Saw does.
Yes.
So he wouldn't let this happen to Saw because he would be able to have huge effects against him. Okay, that makes sense. Because I was thinking like maybe Luthen is just ready to for the Empire to know who he is and just doesn't care, and he's just going to be, because he says we can't hide forever in one of the previous episodes. So maybe he's just ready to say, look, I'm not hiding anymore. I am who I am. I'll have my spies, and they'll be doing the dirty work. So, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. I forgot that he had said that. Okay. But I loved what Saw. He's just one of the most paranoid people in all of Star Wars, if not the most. Because instantly he thinks he's ISB. And he's like, you've got people with Krieger. You've got people here. Who's here? Who's my man here?
I want names.
And he's like, oh, it's Tubes over there. I thought that was hilarious. He called him Tubes. But
Which I think that's his actual nickname. Because
no,
the
it's
subtitle,
not.
Yeah, Two Tubes. That's his nickname. That's
Is
what
it
the
really?
subtitles gave him.
That's,
tubes.
That's dumb.
Because he's got two tubes coming out of his.
Yeah, I know, but
Very basic.
Star Wars subtitles are sometimes really funny about that kind of stuff. But we move into where he accuses him of being his spy, and the guy freaks out. And
Yeah.
Luthen pulls a gun on him. I think there's two reasons for that. He says the reason is to get him to listen. But the other thing that it does, without them actually directly mentioning it, is you see the Tubes man, immediately come to stop Luthen. So that immediately, even though he's been, shooting out these accusations of him being a spy, now Saw knows right away, okay, that was not legitimate. I don't actually have to worry about him being a spy. He doesn't have spies here, right? And he sees the allegiance and the loyalty of that guy right away.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I feel like that's another thing that it does. But were you guys surprised that Luthen laid out the whole plan and gave Saw that decision to make? Why do you think he gave Saw that decision? I was wondering about that. Why did he bother telling him? What do you guys think?
I think it's because, like he was saying earlier, Saul's kind of a loose cannon, but he's still valuable. He can't just shoot him there.
Mm-hmm.
That's losing a lot of leadership in what could be a really valuable faction.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's a loose cannon, you also can't just tell him what to do. But Saul's also, he's been in war. He's been like rebelling for kind of his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So he understands sacrifice. And I think it was a gamble that like Saul, for all his faults, is able to see the bigger picture of what Luthen is trying to do. And if he lays it out in that manner, that's why he's like, he pulled the gun. He's like, I know you'll listen if I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because once he hears that, he understands like, hey, this is all about finally bringing down the Empire. It's not about one person or one like little group. Sacrifices are gonna happen.
Do you wonder though why he felt the need to inform Saw about this stuff? Like,
I
because
think
imagine
just to build trust.
you think so? Because or maybe just to say, look, you're not going to team up with Krieger, but you can team up with us. Well, and maybe also, I just now just popped in my head. Maybe if Krieger, gets caught in what's an obvious trap, maybe then Saw thinks that Luthen sets him up. And by going and talking to Saw ahead of time, he gets ahead of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Saw, like we said, being a very paranoid person would maybe think, oh, Luthen set him up, he turned him in. And
I'm next.
If I had gone with him, that would have been me too.
Mm-hmm.
And now Luthen getting out ahead of it and telling Saw about it gives him that opportunity to say, look, we can save these 51 men. Or, for the bigger picture, for the greater good, if you want to call it, they even say, if you want to call it the greater good, we can let them think that they've got us. And we can be able to rebuild and save our assets for what really matters, which is our intel more so, and knowing what the ISP is going to do.
Which you said 50 men. I thought it was interesting
30.
in this dialogue. They
was
changed it to
30.
30 plus Krieger.
Wasn't it
But
50 in the
when-
previous episode?
When he was talking to the ISB undercover agent,
Yeah.
it was 50 men. So I don't know if probably not significant. If it truly is just a script oversight, that's
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
But
Probably
yeah, they
just
said
like, oh,
30 in this episode, 50 in last.
the ship doesn't fit that many guys.
But
we need
well,
to lower the number, guys.
to be fair, it was never Luthen giving that information. It was always the
that's
other
true.
person.
That's
so
true.
maybe he's just saying number, yeah, that plus Krieger, yes, plus Krieger.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. I
So
suppose.
maybe it
20.
gives credence to just Luthen being Luthen.
No
So
point to shoot yourself in the
that
foot.
ship shows up right after that conversation finishes with Clea. Oh,
Who Clea
I guess
is
we can finish that
one
up
of my
real quick.
favorite.
she's been
Clea, I
interesting,
do like
for sure.
Clea.
And Clea and Vel's conversation was really interesting as well. That they had. in
Yeah,
the
which
curio
that's
shop.
what made me like Clea more, because she's like, I've got more knives spinning on the floor than just you, so like you're the least of my problems.
Yeah, because
pretty
like
much.
all that we see is Vel talking to Clea. But Clea mentions, look, we've got lots of spies and lots of things going on. You're just one of the many people knocking at my door. She's got to worry about Mothma. She's got to worry about Andor. She's worried about all kinds of stuff, and Vel is not one of them. It's just one of the many. But that conversation ends. The conversation with Saw ends, and you just see Saw even say, for the greater good, he says, whatever you want to call it, and Saw says, let's call it war. Love
Let's call
that
it
line.
Whoa.
I mean, we saw that in the trailer, but I thought it
Yeah.
really fit, and I really liked it. But they're just pretty much admitting we're gonna let these people die, and the Empire might think that they've got him. I think that's probably what's gonna end up happening. I don't know if they capture him and kill him. I imagine capture and they try to torture him, but
Yeah, they'll definitely
he won't have
subject
any, he
him
won't
to
have anything to say.
the screams of dying children.
It's an odd torture device. So we move in to him on his ship, and he's packing things up, and boom, Imperial Star Destroyer.
Destroyer.
Class.
What was the class called?
Cruiser.
Cantwell
A Cantwell
class.
class, which is very interesting. I maybe
Yeah.
saw it from Star Wars Theory's video as well.
Yep.
Okay, so give
So
credit where it's due.
well, give credit to the super chat during the watch party.
Oh, are they the ones that noticed?
Someone super chatted and said, "Hey, just so you know, that's
Oh, interesting.
was John Cantwell, who
John
was
Cantwell.
one of
He
the
was
earliest
a
designs."
design drawer or concept artist.
Yeah.
And he designed Star Destroyers. That was one of his designs that he used. Of course, it wasn't like, this is our tractor beam ship or our listening ship. But do you think that was more so tractor beam or listening? I think it was tractor
I don't know
beam.
if he really had an idea even.
Well, yeah,
he probably did, but
I'm sure he had no idea. He probably made tons of different classes of ships. But they called it a Cantwell class, which I thought was funny because it was his design. But it sucks him into a tractor beam. And that whole conversation, he's just trying to get out of it as long as he can. But once he realizes that they're going to try to board him, and they weren't really suspicious of him at all.
yeah, it's like, oh, let's just use this as a
boarding
learning
practice,
exercise.
Yeah. But of course, he
kinda
knows
funny.
he can't risk something like that. And seeing as he prepares to engage maximum thrusters to try to stay away, I was like, I thought he might like try to reverse and slingshot past him, you know?
That crossed my mind,
Yeah.
but what I think he was trying to do in this, plus I saw someone on Twitter, but I was really already thinking this. He's trying to get them to put their tractor beams higher.
Exactly.
So when they sucked the stuff back, it was coming with
Which
more
I thought
speed.
was really interesting. So he gets the power because he said they're pulling with like magnitude of 2 power or whatever.
Yep.
And
Ratchet
then
up to 5.
he as he tears off and pulls ahead, they power it up. So then he doesn't like even shoot anything. It doesn't appear. He more so just like releases these metal shards or explosions.
Yeah, basically
and the
like
tractor beam just sucks them in.
the police when they throw the stuff across the ground.
Caltrops.
Yeah, the tire spikes.
Well, not that or the
Jacks.
little ball. Yeah, basically
Yeah.
jacks, but
Yeah.
giant ones,
Caltrops.
something like that.
What are they
Is
called?
that what?
Caltrops.
How do you spell that?
It's like CLTROPS.
Never heard
Interesting.
that before. Do you know that from like Need for Speed or something?
Some game.
Huh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
GTA.
No.
Learn something new every day.
But that was sick. We never seen anything like that in Star Wars before. And it makes sense. You know, I love when Star Wars does something new where they're like, all right, what would be a way people would fight that would make sense or that would be like something we haven't seen before. So like that case, it's really cool. Like it's unique. It only works in certain situations, but it makes sense. That's exactly what would happen. And it would go through like plasma shields because plasma shields block out lasers and stuff, right? So that would actually work. A ship going through hyperspace and blowing up an entire fleet is stupid. This is cool. So it makes sense in this case. But I like that. I like when Star Wars does things like that. We see it in different mediums all the time. Like blocking hyperspace lanes in the High Republic. Very interesting. Very interesting. But anyways, that ship was sick. All the different things it kept doing was blowing them away.
Yeah.
Like the missiles it was launching and the different
The
things it
lasers.
was able to do, the lasers it had. They're like from a what was the type of ship they're calling it? A whole what?
Hallcraft. So it's
Hallcraft?
like a HAUL.
Yeah,
I think
a
a haul.
Yeah.
So it just was to
Dump truck.
haul.
It's-
Yeah, basically.
Mostly just supposed to be just like a transport ship.
Yeah.
No other.
That highly modified, I would presume.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
would.
Yeah, that
No.
thing is maxed
You
out.
see the tracking on the lasers alone.
Yeah, I thought it was sick, and the fact that he was able to do all that as like a one-man crew as well was just really cool. I mean, he was like blowing
Uh,
me
And he
away.
You
he
want-
did it with ease
Mhm.
for sure. He
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
breaking a sweat.
Totally comfortable the whole time. The only thing that was stupid was those dumb lightsabers shooting out of the side. Anyone else
No,
think
they're
that
not
was dumb?
lightsabers.
I know they're
it's-
just lasers.
Yeah.
But like, you know the odds of that working?
Yeah, it's pretty low.
I would maybe assume there was some sort of tracking on, but I don't know.
No, he's just spinning. Let's try. I mean, it would work if you're like you're
It's great,
driving
it's a good
past a
trick.
large ship. But like with the
I thought it was
speed-
cool, but I want to see a clip of someone like a couple light years away and just be like on a
Ah!
a cruise, a small cruise ship, like going through. Oh look, there's Alderaan. And then
Well,
their ship
honestly,
is
that's a
cutting
really
out.
interesting thing to think about in all space battles.
The
Because
lasers.
the lasers would travel infinitely until they hit something.
I talked myself through it, as I do. Maybe as the
Asteroid
lasers,
fields?
either that or they hit something, or just
Field?
as lasers or light does, it kind of breaks apart. So maybe after an amount of time, like the
But
photon
it's more than
just kind
just
of
light. It's plasma.
would plasma
It's
never
matter.
like But would it never
It would if it had
separate?
resistance. If it had any kind of resistance, it would.
Gravitational pulls.
But the thing is that like the covalent bond would be the strongest force acting on it, because there's no kind of like air resistance or anything
In
space.
Yeah.
So it would just
So it would
travel
just keep-
infinitely. Exactly. At least that's the understanding that I would have.
And it would never lose which, yeah, I'm sure
Only
that
thing
there
would
has to be
happen
an
is
answer somewhere.
Gravity would have maybe if it got close to like a star or something.
Kessel.
And it just went into the star.
Yeah, gravity would pull it in, I suppose. I don't know.
Anyways, that was a tangent. You guys are welcome.
You're welcome.
I fully wanted to explore this tangent when I watched this episode.
Yeah, so I don't know how those things work, but like you think about the ship spinning to chop up 2 TIE fighters, right? Let alone 1. But think about how fast these ships are traveling in space. To correctly time your spin so that the side of your ship would line up to hit that as you're flying past each other, it'd be like trying to get a baseball bat while you're on a motorcycle and properly timing up like your whack of an ant when you're driving past it.
Or
Or a
like
fly.
killing a Jedi in Battlefront 1 using speeder bikes.
Yeah, nearly impossible. So yeah,
But it was possible.
it was. My favorite was going to Best
Cloud
Spin.
City.
Yeah, just
grenading.
blasting Darth Vader off the platforms, man.
Like, now you've done enough.
Like, yes, I've used 17 grenades, but I got you off the edge. And then
I
he
died
just
100 times.
then he comes right
but
back
it's
with
worth
them.
it.
So would you rather have gotten like a grid? Because I'm thinking it's comparable-ish to a seismic charge to an extent, except the seismic charge covers the whole area like a force field.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit more effective
Believable.
for chases.
One, it's longer lasting, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's chasing after you. You go above it, and the explosions from the things that it hits hurt you. And if you fly into it, no matter what part of it you fly into, it gets you.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but if he was flying through space with like a grid line of red photon beams, that would have looked kind of tacky.
He just had like a net surrounding him, just like a bubble.
They just needed to show like the tracking and then
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
maybe
It needed
even
some
a-
sort of tracking
Or
device.
even just like a computer showing like the calculations of how it should time it up. You know?
and it could move. It can
Exactly.
it can pivot.
Yeah.
Like on the LAAT gunships.
yeah, there's a little man outside the window just going.
My dream growing
You
up
just
was
got like an
always to be-
Ugnaught in there with the little thing.
Hit and run!
I always
Buy
wanted
some
to
gas
be
from Cloud City.
in the Republic gunship, the little ball.
Oh yeah, it always looks so
Yep.
that
cool.
looks so
man.
cool.
But you're like the most exposed.
Unprotected.
You're just sitting there.
But you have your own little capsule and you can just pew 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 pew.
like, don't shoot
Unlimited
my
The
fire.
worst
plastic
spot would be
capsule.
the guy. The worst spot would be the guy that just hangs onto the edge with the door wide open. They always fall out every time. Every time. Yeah, I'm excited to see where this show goes, though. I'm interested because you
Nothing
feel,
can happen. No.
exactly nothing can happen. You know, like the only thing that can really happen, assuming it's a 45-minute show, is he gets
Oh,
there.
I saw on Twitter, 53 minutes is the full runtime, which I imagine includes credits.
So about 45 probably.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a 45-minute show. Sure, things can be different. I mean, we see what can happen with Tales of the Jedi and how much you can jam into 12 minutes. But with what we've seen in this show, I don't expect too much to happen. You know, these episodes have covered very small events and very small time frames. So my guess, maybe we can get an opinion from all you guys. But my guess is that he simply shows up to Ferrix.
Ferrix. Yep.
And the other factions are showing up at different times. Some may be waiting for him. I'm sure Cinta and Vel will be waiting for him. And everyone tries to move on him. They fight over him. He tries to get away from all of them. And
Luthen's definitely going to be there, hands down.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he has to be. Cyril's probably going to get in the way of someone, or he's going to throw some huge wrench. Like maybe he's the first one there even. Or he's the one that pries him away from the rebels. I don't know.
I could see that first one there.
Yeah. But he's going to be doing
and then
something.
Andor just goes, and then he gets away.
Yep. Like, I've seen you
Bunch of-
before.
But we're
Or
going
he
to see a
shoots him.
conflict of the rebels trying to decide to kill him or keep him. Andor deciding if he wants to go with them or not. And eventually deciding he does. and then them all trying to escape the Empire at the end, and then he's with them and escaping, and that's how it's gonna end. Is him like deciding to join the rebellion. I can't see much else happening besides that.
So I did go back and look up that scene with Clea and Vel, and Clea said, "We need to find Andor. You need to find him." And then Vel said, "You mean kill him?" And then Clea said basically something along the lines of, "It's the price. This is the price of rebellion."
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't tell Vel to kill him, but didn't tell him not to, and let her think that that's what she
Right.
meant. So I think there is some little bit of undercutting on Clea's part to protect Luthen.
Mm-hmm.
So Luthen still wants Andor hands down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're definitely gonna see some conflict there. I think there's no doubt, and I think that they'll get away from the Empire. But I would not be surprised at all if the Empire learns who Luthen is, though.
He dies.
I don't think he dies. He's too good of a character.
You don't think he dies? Well, do you think he dies in season 2? I feel like
Probably he has to. It seems like he has to, for the good of the Empire,
that's and the good of Rogue One,
or for the good of for the rebellion.
A Star Wars story.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he dies to save Andor. But I don't think that he sees Andor as more valuable than himself.
I don't see him more valuable than Luthen either.
No. So I would think that there's no like real rebellion that he'd be saving in this episode alone. So I think that next season there's gonna be a point where he has to decide his life or the rebellion, and he chooses the rebellion. All right, what do you guys think? Any other theories you guys or things you'd like to see or you think we'll see?
Nope. That's about it.
Nice.
CJ, anything?
I think it's just gonna be pretty much the same thing as episode 3
Yeah.
from the
I
show.
get, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
can
makes
see
sense,
that.
honestly. Just now with stormtroopers this time.
It may be like 2
Upgraded
more
enemies.
parties, but it plays out pretty much the same way.
Yeah,
The
essentially it's the
funeral
same
instead
thing.
of the rendezvous.
The guy gets embarrassed again. And back to boarding school.
Get back to mama. Yeah,
Irish,
that's a good point, CJ.
Irish lieutenant
Yeah.
comes back.
He won't be there.
He's like,
Sir.
I'm ready, guys.
Sir, Cyril, he's over there. Get him.
Sarah, wake up! Sarah, what do we do?
I have 4 hours, then I have to be
thought
back
you'd
to the
want to know.
factory.
Yeah,
Cyril, you'd want
my
to know.
shift starts in an hour. The batteries are charged or refueling. Yeah. I did not think about that, CJ. That kind of depresses me a little bit.
My bad.
Yeah, it does actually.
Hey,
this
is
probably
this
should be episode
worse?
3 again.
Is this the most realist thing that's been spoken this whole podcast? Do you think it's will it be better or worse than Leia getting captured twice in the same show? I mean, it has
No,
to.
It has to be better.
Has to be better than that. Twice. She was captured once twice, was she not? No, I guess
mean-
she was just captured.
Two major times. Yeah.
Oh, Luthen's a Palpatine. That's what one of our listeners say. I don't know about that one, Diego. Although I did see an article that said, "Is Luthen a Jedi?" I was like,
Yeah. I could
Well,
see
that's What I
that.
thought.
No
that's what
way.
I thought with the crystal, but the whole I'm gonna sell everybody out. Nah.
no.
Well, that doesn't mean he's still. I mean, that doesn't mean he's still a White Knight Jedi.
I mean, I know that he had a kyber
Boss.
crystal.
Yeah. That's,
Old
Well,
man?
Was that kyber crystal not too big to be a lightsaber?
a really
Not necessarily.
big lightsaber.
I mean, that dude's holding like a battle axe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like there's a lot of evidence to me. He doesn't act like a Jedi unless he's to the point where he's like the Jedi code is no longer a thing to me.
That's where I would be, honestly. If I was
Yeah.
him and I was a Jedi and that happened to me, I'd be like, I'm doing whatever it takes to.
Now, in that case, it
Rotates.
would explain why he was able to destroy those TIE fighters so easily with that side laser, because he could predict it. But I don't know. I feel like that's a stretch.
Especially with Gilroy. I don't think Gilroy would
No.
write him as a.
That would be out of the blue, though. How would you feel if that were the case? If that was revealed next episode?
It would have to be done really well and not just like, "May the Force be with you" or something like
Yeah.
that. I
Say
don't
he
know.
pulls his cane out from that previous episode, throws Andor's kyber crystal in there, beep boop beep beep, chops up some stormtroopers. They realize he's a Jedi. He gets killed. What are your thoughts?
That's kind of.
He saves
They
everybody.
just do that too much where they like,
The beats
here's
aren't
a
there.
Jedi that survived Order 66.
Yeah.
Let's kill him right now. You just met him.
It's true.
What's his name? You forgot? He's dead.
I
Sorry,
think
doesn't
the
matter.
character.
Fairy.
I think the character that he's been has been so well written. If we turn him into a Jedi, it cheapens it. You know what I mean?
Especially in
Yeah.
one episode.
Yes. Yeah, I'd rather not. All right.
Yeah, it's gotta be done
Also,
well.
we can talk about this later on the next podcast or the podcast after, where we kind of take a week debrief of plot lines that were abandoned.
Sure.
And
Yeah, we'll do a full show review.
so Tony Gilroy said that he did write, and I think I put this in the group chat, he did write, or he knows the story of what happened to Andor's
Yeah,
family when he was in
but
the
it got cut
flashbacks,
out.
but it just got removed.
Censored.
Well, they filmed it too. It just got cut out.
Oh, you think they even filmed it?
Yeah,
Did you see that, or are you guessing that?
I thought that's what he said. Maybe did he just say he wrote it and it didn't get?
Yeah, I
put in
thought
the
he
show?
said, like, I know that story, but it ultimately got cut.
See, I feel like
let me
if
read it again.
I feel like if that part of the story's getting cut, you wouldn't have ever shown the flashbacks. You would have like just shown the one scene of Andor getting taken by Marva and maybe like one small scene before that. But you wouldn't have needed like the whole background. You know, like
Yeah.
the whole thing with the chemicals and the Republic guys dressed as separatists. Like there would have been some kind of. They would have just dumbed it down a little bit rather than having like this big backstory that has like all these missing holes. I feel like it had to have been at least started to be filmed and then taken out.
Yeah,
That's-
he said, I have the answers to that, but I'm not going to get into it. There was a very articulated version of it, and then it was cut out for different reasons. So they may have shot stuff, they may have not. Yeah,
it's
I agree. It would
unclear.
be weird to include that stuff in because
Because there were so many like subpoints. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like family killed, Marva rescued. There were all these other things that were also in there that had like
he was looking for his sister in the first scene of the whole show. Like,
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
where
we
did that
really
go?
haven't talked
Yeah.
about her much. Since
And
then.
I don't think we're going to. So
No.
Yeah. So I just think things got cut on the editing floor like post. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So we'll see. But I mean, the one thing about the sister is you show like he's just had this broken life though, and it's never gotten better. It's like poor Joseph in the Bible. Just terrible things that are working out for good. So,
Eventually.
all right, I'm excited to see what happens. In other news, Mando season 3 is starting to shape up. We should be getting that spring next year. Bad Batch.
February.
Yeah, February. Bad Batch coming out in December.
I have no idea. It's been delayed so many times.
Yeah.
I
was
don't
like,
remember.
This year,
I don't remember
really?
if Bad Batch is coming out before Mando or after.
No
feel like-
idea.
I feel like Bad Batch was December and Mando was February, and then Ahsoka was summer next year.
I know originally Bad Batch was supposed to be first. Whether or not it still is.
All right, Bad Batch season 2. Let's look it up.
Yes.
Bad Batch season
TBD.
2.
Yeah, I really have no idea what to expect from our next episode, and I'm not holding my breath for anything.
January. Bad Batch January.
Oh yeah, isn't it like 4th or something?
It was originally set to premiere in September. It got moved to January 4th.
Fun
Two-episode
fact,
premiere.
It was originally supposed to air May 4th, 2022.
Honestly,
Oh,
I don't
for
mind when
like
things get pushed back
2 seconds.
as long as they're making them better.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Didn't work with Black Widow, but it's
did
fine.
not. But it did work with Red Dead.
Did it?
But it did not
Was
work
that
with
pushed back?
Cyberpunk.
Got pushed
Red
back.
Dead was pushed back for a long time.
Interesting.
Oh, in other news, they're coming out with a new Star Wars like tabletop board game.
Oh, really?
Yep. So it'll have like characters, like this kind of
Figurines.
size,
Mm-hmm.
and looks pretty cool.
What's
Really
it?
good.
Do you know the gameplay style? Is it like a RPG or what?
It'll be like a
Parcheesi?
no, it'll be like one of those like tactical
Pictionary?
games where you play against like a 1v1.
Oh yeah, I like
Thing.
those.
So it looks like it'll have like 4.
Mhm.
It looks like you'll have like a primary character, a like apprentice or sidekick or whatever, and then from what I could tell, 2 like clone troopers or droids or
I have a Hasbro
Rebels.
game called Escape of the Death Star. Really fun. I enjoy that very much.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's more so. It's mostly a race to the end of the board, and there's lots of
Yeah.
different ways you can get there, and like blocks you can put in front of your opponents and stuff. But it's really fun. I like it.
Nice.
You have to like disable the tractor beam first before you get off the Death Star. So it's cool.
Nice.
It's got really cool minifigures too. So
those are always fun.
All right. Well, this has been the Rogue Podcast, a Star Wars show. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Most of you guys watch Disappears these days, which is weird because back in the day, our listening,
you could only listen.
You could only listen. But then when we started YouTube, it was still mostly just listens. But
Come full circle.
I guess we just have a lot. I also don't post on social media like I used to either. So I probably should get on that. I used to post a lot, but not anymore. Oh, well. All right. Anyways, can't wait for the finale next week. I think it's going to be really great. Hopefully it is. We'll see. May the Force be with you always.
John.
I was going to leave this on John for a little bit longer so people can just see it. All right. See you.